If silence is golden, then I've walked into a goddamn treasure vault. The door creaks shut behind me with a gust of sea wind, and for a few seconds, I just stand in the entryway, suitcase at my side, heart still racing from the 4-hour bus ride down hairpin roads. The air inside the house is colder than outside, damp and still, like it's been holding its breath since last season. I stare up at the ceiling beams, the cracked tile floor, the dusty sunlight filtering through fog-streaked windows. There's no reception, no sound, no welcome. Just me and this strange old house by the sea. Joan called it a creative retreat. I call it a haunted shipwreck with plumbing. I haul my suitcase down the narrow hallway, wheels catching on uneven wood. A note taped to one of the bedroom doors reads, "Nina, room 3." The paper is curling at the edges, like it's been there a while. I open the door. The room is bare, but not unfriendly. White walls, a slanted ceiling, a window with a crooked view of the cliffs. There's a paint-stained desk and an old radiator that probably hasn't worked since the early 2000s. The only art on the walls is the kind that looks like it came with the frame. I sit on the bed, which creaks under my weight, and stare at the blank canvas I packed but didn't dare unwrap. The light's good, the air smells like salt, and I still feel like I can't breathe right. I didn't come here to relax. I came here because I couldn't paint anymore. Joan said I needed quiet, that I'd find my center again. Right now, all I've found is that silence makes a hell of a lot of noise when it's the only thing you're hearing. A floorboard creaks in the hallway. That's right, I'm not alone. Joan mentioned only one other artist would be staying here during the off-season. She said he's quiet, focused, does good work with metal, which is probably code for don't expect conversation. Still, curiosity nudges me. I poke my head out of the room. Farther down the hallway, one of the doors is slightly ajar. A dull clink of tools filters through, metal on metal, deliberate and slow. I follow it to the studio space. The man inside doesn't hear me knock. He's bent over a work table, tall and lean in a worn gray hoodie, headphones over his ears. Sparks flicker briefly from a soldering iron. He's shaping something out of wire, arms steady, posture relaxed in a way that feels practiced, controlled. I knock again, louder this time. He finally looks up. I freeze for a beat. He's younger than I expected, maybe mid-20s. Tired eyes, sharp jaw, hands stained with something dark. He slides off the headphones. I just got here, I say. Painter, Nina. A nod. Cole. His voice is quiet, like it's been kept in a drawer. Cool. This your studio? He tilts his head. Ours. Just don't touch the torches. I smile. Deal. He doesn't return the smile, but something flickers behind his eyes. Interest? Amusement? Hard to tell. I back away, gesturing down the hall. Well, see you in the kitchen, I guess. Or not, depending on your stance on human interaction. Still, just as I reach the hallway, I hear him mutter. Coffee's usually at 7. I pause, look back. He's already working again. That night, the house settles into the kind of silence that seeps under your skin. Wind rattles the windows, floorboards tick with temperature. My canvas still sits blank in the corner, judging me. I'm curled under a too thin blanket, wondering if the radiator's just decorative. Just as I'm giving up on sleep, I hear it. Music. Faint, crackling. Jazz, old and slow, like something you'd dance to if you were sad and barefoot and alone in a kitchen. It's coming from the room next to mine. For the first time all day, I smile. I pull on a hoodie, pad into the hallway, and knock gently on the source of the sound. A few seconds later, the door opens. Cole blinks at me. Barefoot, hoodie sleeves rolled up, his hair's a little messy, like he ran a hand through it 100 times. The music's still playing behind him, something low and smoky. I say the first thing that comes to mind. I liked the music. He nods. Didn't mean to play it out loud. Well, I say, mouth curving, can you keep not meaning to? His face stays still, but his eyes shift, just a little, amused, a breath deeper than the one before. Then he nods again, slower. Not a promise, but maybe something close. The next morning, I wake to the sound of seagulls screaming like they're auditioning for hell. For a few seconds, I think I'm back in the city. Then I sit up and see the window, foggy glass, sea cliffs, and a sky so pale it barely registers as blue. I shiver and pull the blanket tighter around me. The room smells like salt and wood and something older I can't name. It's quiet again, not the comfortable kind, the kind that makes your thoughts too loud. I stretch, drag myself up, and pull on a sweater that smells like studio dust and old coffee. My sketchbook is still on the floor by the bed where I left it, unopened. I carry it with me anyway, like a habit. In the kitchen, he's already there. Cole is standing at the stove, hoodie sleeves pushed up, one hand cradling a chipped white mug. He doesn't look up when I walk in, but he gestures slightly toward the countertop. 2 mugs sit there, steam curling from both. "You made coffee?" I say, a little surprised. He nods once, not turning around. Was already up. I take the one with the faded blue ring around the top and wrap my hands around it. The mug is warm, chipped in the exact way I like. I usually talk too much before caffeine, I add. I noticed. I snort. Right, forgot I've already made my impression. Now he looks at me, just briefly. It wasn't bad. That's unexpected. I lean against the counter and sip. The silence between us feels different now, less sharp around the edges, like it's had time to warm up, too. "You always up this early?" "Usually." "Because of work?" He nods. Metal heats better in the cold, holds shape longer. That sounds like something metaphorical, but I don't push. We finish our coffee, mostly in silence. I try not to look at him too much, but it's hard not to notice how still he is. Not stiff, just settled. Like his body doesn't waste energy on unnecessary movement. Like he only says what he has to and only moves when it matters. The opposite of me, basically. I try to paint that afternoon. I set up in the small studio they've assigned to me, open the window a crack, and stare at the blank canvas until my eyes burn. The brushes sit beside it, clean and lined up like they're judging me. Every time I reach for a color, I freeze. I sketch instead. Lines, loose shapes, a shell, a doorway, a man's shoulder, sharp and angled like it's been carved from something real. I don't think about who that last one looks like. Later, I wander the house. It's big, but feels smaller in this weather. Wind pressing at the windows, rooms flickering with gray light. I find a narrow library with shelves full of old books that smell like they haven't been opened since the 80s. A pantry with 5 jars of dried thyme, a window that looks out on fog so thick it could be hiding anything. I end up in the common room. There's a fireplace, a couple mismatched chairs, a beat-up couch with a blanket that might be older than me. I curl into one corner, tuck my knees up, and try to read, but the words blur. I'm not really thinking about the book. I'm thinking about him. About the way he stood at the stove this morning. About how he moves like he's holding back from the world. Like if he opens up even a little too far, everything inside might spill out. A door creaks behind me. He walks in. Cole pauses when he sees me, then nods once, like he hadn't expected the room to already be claimed, but doesn't mind sharing. He sinks into the armchair across from me, sketchbook in hand, pencil tucked behind one ear. His fingers are stained again. Burn marks, faint but real. He flips open the book and starts to draw. I try not to look. I do anyway. Do you ever talk when you're working? I ask quietly. He doesn't look up. No. Even if someone's sitting across from you staring? That gets a ghost of a smile. Barely, but I see it. I can handle staring, he says, and glances at me. Can you? I blush before I can stop it. Maybe. We fall into something like stillness. The room isn't silent, not really. The pencil against the paper makes a soft whisper. The wind taps at the windows. The fire shifts with a low creak. It's quiet, but not empty. It feels full somehow, like we've found something between words. Eventually I ask, "You like it here?" He shrugs, eyes still on his sketchpad. It's quiet. That's enough. You always want quiet? He doesn't answer right away. Then, not always, just when it's loud inside. That shuts me up, because I know exactly what he means. The power goes out just after sunset. 1 second, I'm rinsing a mug in the kitchen sink. The next, I'm staring at my own reflection in pitch black glass. The house sighs with sudden silence. The fridge hum stops, the overhead light clicks off, and the wind outside rushes louder than before. I wait for it to come back on. It doesn't. From somewhere down the hall, "Generator's dead." It's Cole's voice, flat and unsurprised, as if this happens all the time. "How dead?" I call back. Footsteps. Then he appears in the doorway, holding a flashlight. The beam slices through the dim like a blade. Very. I blink at him. No backup? There is, but it won't start until the wind dies down. Great. He shrugs like it's nothing. Maybe for him, it is. I wipe my hands on a towel and gesture to the dark around us. Guess we're really off-grid now. He opens a drawer without looking and pulls out a small box of candles. Welcome to week 2. I follow him around the house as he lights the essentials: kitchen, common room, stairwell. The flickering glow turns the whole place softer somehow, less eerie, more lived in. I tuck my sleeves over my hands to keep warm. The temperature is already dropping. Do you have a fireplace in your room? I ask. He shakes his head. No, you? I nod. Tiny one, doesn't work. We meet eyes in the low candlelight. Well, I say, trying to keep my tone casual, if the heat's dead and the rooms are freezing, maybe we camp out in the warmest one. He just nods once and says, common room's best, thickest walls. The thought of sleeping in the same space makes something flutter low in my stomach. Not quite nerves, not quite excitement, just something. We pull the couch cushions down onto the floor, drag a few extra blankets from the hall closet. He works without speaking, but we fall into rhythm quickly, stacking pillows, setting candles safely in jars, checking window latches. It feels oddly intimate, the way quiet teamwork always does, like we've done this before. I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor when he brings 2 mugs of warm tea, brewed somehow over the gas stove. He passes one to me, peppermint. You read my mind. He settles down beside me, not close enough to touch, but closer than usual. The storm howls louder outside. Rain lashes at the windows like it's personal, but in here it's warm, flickering, almost safe. This is weird, I say after a few sips. He glances over. What is? I haven't had a normal conversation with you, and now we're basically having a sleepover. He lets out a quiet breath. Not quite a laugh, but close. You've had conversations. Monologues. He raises his mug to that. Good ones. The candlelight catches on his jawline, the curve of his throat, the shadows under his eyes. He's beautiful in the kind of way you don't notice at first. Too quiet, too still. But once you see it, it's impossible to look away. I used to hate silence, I say before I can stop myself. He doesn't answer, but he doesn't look away either. I grew up in a noisy house. Music, people, yelling. You had to be loud to exist. And now, here I am, in a house where I can hear myself blink. He watches me for a long moment. Then, you're not loud. I laugh softly. That's the nicest lie I've heard all week. He shakes his head. You fill space. That's not the same. I stop smiling, because that sounds dangerously close to something that matters. I don't know how to be around quiet people, I admit. You make me nervous. That gets a flicker of something, his mouth quirking, barely visible. You make me feel seen, he says, eyes on the candle between us. We sit there, both startled by our own honesty. Eventually, I lie back on the floor, staring up at the wooden ceiling. Do you ever wish you could say more? I ask. He lies down beside me, far enough that our shoulders don't touch, but I feel the warmth of his body anyway. Sometimes, he says, softly. And that's it. That's all we say. But it feels like we've said more in this quiet than most people say in an entire night. I drift off like that, next to him, heartbeat slowing, storms still raging somewhere outside the walls, but not in here, not between us. In the morning, he's gone. Not dramatically, just not there. The blankets are folded, his mugs rinsed and set beside the sink. A note on the counter says, "Power's back, studio's open." It's the most words I've seen from him in one place. I hold the note for a second too long. The common room is cold without him, without his quiet steadiness. I try to shake it off. He probably just wanted to work early, Probably needed to be alone again. Probably this, probably that. I warm my hands around a fresh cup of tea and tell myself not to overthink a man whose vocabulary maxes out at "you're not loud." But later, when I walk into the shared studio, something changes. He's not in there, but the door's open, the lights are on, and in the back corner, half covered with a drop cloth, is something I haven't seen before. A sculpture. Different from the others, less abstract, less polished. It's almost human. I glance around. No footsteps, no sound, so I step closer. It's a figure made of welded steel, tall, angular, hunched slightly like it's bracing against wind. Its hands cover its own face, but the shadow beneath the hands is carved too, a second face, hidden behind the palms, pressed into the chest. The emotion is unmistakable. Grief. It stops me cold. I don't know how long I stand there, staring. Then I realize something else. On a table nearby is a sketch. Mine. One I forgot I'd left behind. A rough study of him, head down, hands resting on metal. Just a memory I tried to catch on paper. He kept it. I don't know what that means, but it means something. I press my hand against the center of my chest, grounding myself. Then I pick up my sketchbook. Back in my room, I find the one drawing I haven't let him see. I tear it out carefully and tape it to his studio door. He'll know what it is. It's him, sleeping, from that night on the floor. His mouth soft, the lines of his shoulders relaxed. A version of him I don't think many people get to see. I don't sign it, just leave it there. That night, the candle is already lit in the common room when I walk in. He's sitting on the couch, hands clasped, gaze unfocused. When I enter, he looks at me once, then looks down. I sit next to him without asking. "You saw it," he says quietly. I nod. "You kept mine." He breathes slowly. "Yours was honest. So was yours." He doesn't speak for a long moment. Then, "I made it after my brother died. I didn't show anyone, not even at the exhibit." I blink. "You don't have to tell me." "I want to." That stops me. He was younger, died 2 years ago. I couldn't say anything about it. Still can't. So I welded it. Every day. Until the shape made sense. I say nothing, because there's nothing to fix. I just sit beside him. When he finally lifts his gaze, it's not guarded anymore. "You make noise," he says, "but you see quiet things." That hits deeper than I expect. "So do you," I say. "You just don't say them out loud." His eyes stay on mine, longer than ever before. I feel it then, like gravity shifted, like we're both leaning into something without moving at all. But he doesn't touch me, and I don't ask him to. Instead, we stay there, candlelight flickering, as the silence between us becomes something soft, something like trust. I don't see him the next day. Not at breakfast, not in the studio, not even in passing, like we usually do when we orbit the same quiet spaces. The tea kettle stays cold. His mug doesn't move from the drying rack. His sketchbook, usually out, waiting like a loyal dog, is gone. I tell myself he's just working, but the absence feels sharp. He's pulling away, and I hate that I know it before he says a word. I spend the morning in the common room, trying to paint and failing spectacularly. Every time my brush meets the canvas, I hesitate. Everything I want to say feels tangled, like it's not mine anymore, like it belongs to him now, too. I walk down to the cliffs in the afternoon. The wind bites at my cheeks and the ocean churns, loud and thoughtless. I sit on a wet rock for a long time, trying to let it rinse me clean. It doesn't. By nightfall, I'm back in the house, pacing. Eventually, I go looking for him. He's not in his room, not in the studio, but I hear metal from the garage, scraping, hammering, the short, clipped sound of someone trying too hard to make something silent. I find him there, lit by a single overhead bulb, sleeves rolled up, welding mask pushed to the top of his head. He doesn't see me at first. He's focused, furious even. His hands move faster than usual, less control, more force. "Cole," I say, quietly. He freezes, then sets the torch down. For a second, we just stand in the same space. Then he says, "It's not working." "What's not?" He gestures at the half-built frame on the table. This, the peace, the shape, the quiet. I frown. "You always find it eventually." He doesn't look at me. I step closer, heart thudding. Is this about the sculpture or about me? His jaw clenches. "You're pulling away," I say. "You won't look at me. You vanished. You..." "Because it's easier," he snaps, and it's the loudest I've ever heard him. I go still. He swallows, drops his gaze. "Because this is the part where it stops being quiet." I don't move, don't speak. I don't know how to need someone without feeling like it'll go wrong, he says, voice low now. "You make it feel easy, and that terrifies me." Something inside me cracks, but it's not pain. It's recognition. "I'm not here to fix you, Cole," I say gently. "I just see you. That's all." He lifts his eyes then. The silence between us swells again. Not cold this time, not empty, just full of everything we're still too scared to say. "I don't know how to stay open," he says. "I don't need you open," I reply. "I just need you present." And then, maybe because it hurts not to, I step forward and brush my hand against his. He doesn't flinch. He closes his fingers around mine. It's not a kiss. It's not a confession. It's just a moment of staying. And for now, that's enough. It starts slowly. He shows up at breakfast again. Doesn't say much, just pours coffee, hands me a mug, sits across from me like nothing's changed. But he's different. He looks up more, lets his gaze rest on me for longer than it should. And when I leave the kitchen, I hear his footsteps behind me. Not close, just near enough to feel. That afternoon, I find a small figure left in my studio space. A sculpture, unfinished, palm-sized, soft curves traced in raw metal. It doesn't look like anything at first, but the way the lines bend, the way the weight leans forward slightly, almost like it's listening, It feels familiar. It feels like me. There's no note, no explanation, but when I look up, he's watching from the hallway. We don't talk about it. Later, I stretch a new canvas across the frame, and he walks in without knocking. He stands in the doorway and waits, quiet and still. "You want something?" I ask, but my voice is softer now. It doesn't sound like teasing anymore. He holds up a pencil. "Draw me." I blink. "What?" "I want to see what I look like through you." That silences me more than anything else has. He walks in, sits on the low bench by the window, and doesn't pose, not exactly, just rests his elbows on his knees, hands together, gaze fixed somewhere over my shoulder. I draw. Not the lines of his face, not exactly, but the shape of him, the stillness, the tension, the way he always looks like he's about to disappear into himself. When I show it to him, his jaw shifts. "This is what I see," I say. He traces the paper lightly with one fingertip. It's honest. I'm not sure he means the drawing. That evening, I paint for the first time in weeks. Not with pressure, not with the voice in my head telling me what it needs to mean. I just paint, strokes that feel like breath, like warmth, like the weight of silence in a shared room. Cole walks in halfway through. He doesn't interrupt, just stands behind me, quiet. His presence buzzes in my spine. When I stop for water, I feel him still standing there, close now. I turn, and he doesn't step back. "You're getting better," he says quietly. I don't answer. I'm not thinking about the painting. I'm thinking about how close he is, how much I want him to touch me, not like a sculptor touches clay, but like someone who's finally decided to reach back. He brushes a piece of hair from my face, slow, careful, like he's not sure I'll let him. I close my eyes. He doesn't kiss me, but the moment stretches so long and hot and quiet that it feels like we already did. And maybe that's what this is, what we are. A shape forming slowly under heat and time. No sudden break, just pressure, patience, wait. He steps back. "Good night," he says, but it sounds like a promise. I wake early on my last morning. The sky outside is a soft, cold blue. My bag is packed. My brushes are clean. The room looks like I was never here, except for the sketch tacked to the wall, the one of him sleeping. I almost take it down. I don't. The bus is supposed to come just after noon. I haven't told him yet. Maybe he already knows. Maybe he's always known I'd leave. The house feels still, not hollow, just waiting. I carry my tea to the common room and sit in the corner of the couch like always. The fire's not lit. The light is dim. I hold the warmth in my hands and try to tell myself this isn't a goodbye, but I don't believe it. He walks in quietly, like he does everything. He sees me, sees the tea, the bag at my feet, and something shifts in his eyes. "When?" he asks. "Soon." He nods once, doesn't sit. I try to smile. "Thanks for not kicking me out of your silence." He doesn't smile back, His eyes lower. "You're not noise." That hits me in the chest. Then what am I? He walks toward the table near the fire, sets something down between us. It's a sculpture, new, small. A figure sitting on a couch, hands around a mug, her face tilted to the side, not talking, listening, soft and still. Me. I touch it carefully, the metal still faintly warm. "I don't say much," he says, voice rough. "But when you leave, the house will feel louder. That's how I'll know what I miss." I look at him, really look, and say, "I don't want to go." He breathes in, deep and slow. Then, "Stay." I wait, because that's not enough, because I need to hear it, not just feel it, in the way he looks at me, or makes tea, or sculpts me into something quiet and lasting. He meets my eyes, and finally says it, soft, unpracticed, but real. "You're the only noise I don't want to end." I don't move at first. Then I do. I stand. I step into his space. And this time, when I touch him, he doesn't flinch. When I kiss him, he responds. It's not a dramatic kiss. There's no firework. Just warmth, weight, stillness. The way water presses against a shore. When we part, we don't speak. We don't need to. He carries my bag back upstairs, and I unpack.